So we knew that what we were doing was leading into Batman 2. We knew that, we knew that he wanted to set Batman 2 in the snow, and so we started gearing our way towards that.
You are awesome in this. First things first, like,
Oh, thank
holy
you.
crap, you killed it in this, man. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
That's nice of you to say. Thank you.
We're going to talk about all the spoilers. First question: did you specifically sign on to this show to just break everybody's hearts?
That was in the contract. Yeah. No, we talked about that early on before we even started shooting, kind of where the arc was going. So we knew where we were headed from the beginning.
So, first things first, though, I did want to ask, like, let's just start with, I guess, why? Like, why do you think Oz ultimately decided to kill Victor versus letting him run away?
I think it's kind of what he says. He says it, while he's committing the act, is that he knows that he's vulnerable in this way now. He's just experienced what it's like to lose his mother, or not to lose his mother, but to have his mother taken from him in the lengths he's willing to go to get her back. And when you view someone as family, it's a strength, like he says, but it's also, God damn it, if it don't make you weak. And so I think he wants to become something, almost impenetrable. And the way he thinks he can do that, and not that everyone else, I think, sees it as you don't have to do this. He sees it as a way. The only way they're not going to be able to hurt me. The only way that I can be invulnerable is to snuff out this flame here.
Right. It's almost like this extreme sense of bullying, right? Where it's like I'm gonna hurt everything that I love first before anybody else can hurt me with it.
Right, right. It's so odd. And I was talking to Lauren about it, throughout the series. And one of the things she found the most heartbreaking about it is that he doesn't have to do it. That's the thing. He doesn't have to. He could let it rock, and then if something comes up, then in that moment he can decide to let go. But he's different. Oz isn't like everybody else, and so he's a bit cuckoo. And so I think he decides, no, I'll do it first, and that way it'll be done.
Yeah. Now, what do you think were the last thoughts going through Victor's mind in that moment?
I think shock. I think shock is kind of what I was going for, and then before you know it, I mean, I think it's hard to you're getting choked to death. Everything you're doing is survival at that point. It's instinct. You're kicking, you're grabbing, you're pleading. You don't know what's going on. You don't know why it's going on. You don't really understand what's happening. You put so much love and so much trust in this person. For him to be betraying you like that, I think it's just like, what? Oh my God, no, please, don't, please stop. At that point, it's just survival, and before you know it, you're done.
Now, you said earlier about how you sort of knew about this when you signed on. You knew what Victor's arc was going to be. Did that lead you to play him in any sort of different way, or
I think it was an ongoing conversation, definitely something on my mind. The idea of wanting to get the audience kind of on Victor's side. I think that I was worried about the idea that maybe because Victor isn't such a badass, like Frances is kind of badass, and anytime she gets caught, she's spitting in Sophia's face and slapping her, and Oz, anytime he gets into some trouble, has a quick remark, and Sophia is a badass in her own right. Like everybody's killing it, and Victor's a little bit more, he's got goodness in his heart, and I think that and it's hard for him to do some acts like in episode 6 when he has to take someone's life, or I think it's not even the dismembering. He can't really find his way to get all dismember the head that he needed to dismember in the first episode. So I think it's difficult for him, and I thought that the audience might not really relate to that. I know that's how most people would react. If I'm being honest, I think most people would find it hard to dismember people, but I think that because we watch so much television, so many movies, I think it's hard to. We're so used to seeing the badass. We're so used to seeing the guy who goes into a room and kills 10 people and liking that guy. So the guy that cries about killing one, it's like, ooh, that's kind of weak. So I think that I was worried about that, but to my surprise, people have really kind of embraced the character and kind of felt protective about him and kind of grown like a love for him. And so I had always felt that in my heart about the character, just playing him, but I didn't know how many people would. And I think that was kind of what we were trying to create over the course of the arc of the show, was show someone who, bring this like kind of real grounded perspective to what it would be like to dismember someone if you've never done it before, to what it would feel like to have to shoot your first person and have it be drawn out in this bloody kind of gross thing, that you have to sit there and witness and watch. A person that you've known for years, not someone you just met, it's not some stranger. You've known Squid for years, he's been around, and so we knew it was a grounded approach. I wondered if people would embrace it, and then thankfully they have, and yeah, and all of it was so that in the end they would feel something when that moment happened. They would feel something negative towards Oz was really the idea.
Sure. I think you guys did such a wonderful job too of tapping into that sympathy for Victor because like you said, I mean it's a grounded approach and while we might cheer on the badass who kills 10 people no problem. I mean I think if people are honest with themselves, we all see a little bit of ourselves in Victor. Most normal people, nobody wants to do things like that.
Right.
And Victor seems like a guy he's an innocent guy who's just kind of got made some bad choices and got strung up in some shit that he's really not prepared for.
Exactly. That was always kind of the idea behind it, is that here's a good kid who's put in these really difficult circumstances. He makes one fateful decision to not leave town when he had the chance to, and that kind of sets him on a crash course, or not on a crash course, it kind of sets him on a course towards his own demise in the end.
Yeah, and let's talk about that episode for a second, where Vic chooses Oz in a life of crime over leaving with his girlfriend. I mean, why do you think ultimately Vic made that choice?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think that they talk about it early on in the episode. One of the more obvious ones is this idea of wanting more. This idea of like, what's my life going to be like if I do go to California? Is it going to be the same thing that I kind of was scolding in a way my dad for just a week and a half ago, or a week at that point, yeah, like a week and a half ago? Is it, what life am I really looking at? If I go to California, what's that look like versus look at how much money I'm making here. Look at the kind of power that I feel now. I'm starting to feel a little more confident. For whatever reason, this guy who's really, got his head switched on for this kind of life, Oz, he has a liking toward, he kind of likes me. And he's taken me under his wing, no pun intended. And it's all, and I'm making money. And I think that there's something to do with the idea that he's also finding a sense of purpose. There's something bigger than him now going on around him. He's not just fighting for, I don't know, the next dollar. They're making a play at taking over the entire drug world in Gotham. It feels bigger than life, And I think that for the first time, he feels like he can be useful for something that's bigger than just himself, and that feels good.
Now, this is something that I've seen people debating already, but do you think Oz had been planning on killing Victor, or was this a knee-jerk reaction as soon as Victor said he considered Oz to be family?
That's a great question. I want to know what Colin would say about it. Like, when was the decision made? Mm-hmm. I really have no idea. I'm in the debates with everybody else. I really don't know, to be honest. I go back and forth. Sometimes I think in that moment. Sometimes I think he knew it from the moment, from the moment we get out to the riverbank, or when he takes me out to the riverbank. I think he knows what he's going to do then. I go back and forth.
Do you think there's anything symbolic about it being beside the riverbank? Was there any symbolism there whatsoever?
May nothing that jumps to my mind immediately. I think some of the symbolism is in like the or there's some deeper meaning in him taking out the wallet, and that was the very first interaction that he and I had. When he looked at my ID, it's the very last thing that he looks at. Throughout the entire show, he's saying how people are going to remember our names. There's that moment in episode 6 where he goes, Victor Aguilar, Ice Cobb, our kids are going to live, our name's going to live forever. And I go, you think? He goes, yeah. Something about remember our names, And the last thing he does, he takes out my ID, throws it in the riverbank, and there's no family looking for me. I don't have any friends looking for me.
Right.
No one will ever know my name. I'm a nameless, I'm a John Doe now, as far as anyone else is concerned. And yeah, I think it's just heartbreaking. I think it's Victor put his trust and his love into someone who ultimately was very much for himself and always has been.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's super heartbreaking when you paint it like that. Do you think Oz's decision to kill Victor is going to have any ripple effects for him in the Batman 2? And if so, in what ways?
I don't know if we'll see him like mourning the loss at all, really. I think from what I see with Oz, he's pretty crazy. He's pretty effed up, the guy. And so I think maybe it was a hard moment for him. And I think maybe it'll be a hard night for him. Maybe tomorrow he'll wake up a little bit weird. and then a few days from then he'll be just fine. You see him kind of in the end. His mother is in basically in like a vegetative coma state. He's dressing up his girlfriend as the mom. He just killed someone who I think he had some love for, and he's smiling and laughing and having a good old time, having a dance in his penthouse suite. I mean, I think the guy's insane. I think he's psychotic, and I don't think he's going to be missing me very, very much. I think he gets a night and he's good.
Do you think it's fair to say that Oz is the ultimate Freudian poster boy? I mean, dude loves his mom a little too much.
Yeah, 100%. I remember on the first day of shooting, our very first day was me walking into Francis's apartment, and um, they have a little moment together. She kind of berates him a little bit, but then they have a sweet moment. And my whole job that day, thankfully, I had no lines that day. Not really. I had like a couple lines here, like 4 or 5. And it was my first day on set, so I always love it when it can be a little lighter day on set the first time. But it's just watching them. And I remember my direction kind of was like, this is weird. What we're watching right now is odd. This isn't normal. And I kind of brought it up. I'm like, there's something like more than just weird. Like they're dancing a little too close. Like, what are we talking here? And they're like, exactly. Go with that and just give us the looks, and we'll cut to whenever we need to. I said, great. So I just got to watch them do their thing. And yeah, it is odd. And he is kind of like the poster boy, like the worst kind. But yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah, no, I actually love the way that it's because it's almost like a mafia Italian trope, right? Because these terrible guys in all of these movies, Goodfellas, everything, but they love their mother. You know what I mean? That's always the thing. It's like, oh, but I love my mom. I'm sorry, I just did that awful Italian accent, but and I love that they took that and applied that to Oz, but like pushed it as far as possible. Like he clearly, like by the end, there's almost a romantic or sexual attraction to it, and it makes it like very off-putting.
It's gross. You kind of leave that scene going. You kind of got this face that's like, oh no, what am I looking at right now? This is so odd. He's just doing the most awful things, and then it kind of just makes that last moment, the very last 2 seconds of the show, are these. It's kind of like, you see the bat. I don't want to ruin it, but you see something in the sky that kind of gives you hope a little bit.
Oh, it's okay. We're gonna have full spoiler warnings
Okay,
on this
great. Yeah,
video.
no, when
So
the
yeah,
bat signal goes up in the sky, it's like hell yeah. It's like, let's go. Now you're back on, it's kind of perfect because you're
right.
back on Batman's side. Now we were kind of rooting for Oz in moments and in scenes and throughout especially at the beginning. As it goes on, you root for him a little less and a little less. By the end, you're like, let's get this mother effer off of this pedestal. Let's get his ass, and I think that's really the point, is so that we can get back to Batman 2 and be rooting for Batman again.
Yeah, I think that's what's so brilliantly done about this show is that like even though he does such messed up things along the way, I mean you're always sort of rooting for him, seeing it from his perspective until this last episode. I mean, it's the decisions that he makes in this last episode where you're like, wow, we were really rooting for the wrong team here. Like this is not a good thing that we've all been pulling for.
Yeah, that was one of the major things that we were talking about throughout the making of the show. It's like we need this final moment to really land and make him irredeemable.
Yeah.
That was kind of the point. And to get to a space where, and of course let the audience do whatever they want. I'm not trying to make the audience feel a certain thing at all. It's just from what I've been hearing and what people have been saying and what you've been just mentioned yourself is this kind of feeling of like, man, we were rooting for you, and now it doesn't feel that way anymore. If anything, I'm actively rooting against is a lot of the kind of messaging that I've been hearing, and so it's a tough one, and it's an interesting one because over the course of 8 episodes, it gradually gets there, and you want to keep rooting for him, and you want to see him win, even though you see him do despicable things throughout the entire show. You stick with him until he crosses a line. So he crosses a line that I don't think he can come back from.
Well, I think that's what's so great about this show is because we've seen a lot of instances where there's been very villain centric things, right? We there was the Joker film, or Sony's got their Spider-Man villains and things like that, but they sort of always treat them like anti-heroes instead, and sort of like there's always somebody worse
Mm,
you know what I mean? So you're able
sure.
to attach yourself onto them. But with Penguin, I mean, you guys really leaned in for this last episode of saying we are going to make him irredeemable. And I think that I mean, I think everybody just agrees that it's just superbly done. I do want to talk a little bit about, Oz killing his brothers for a second. And there's been a lot of debate over that and whether it was intentional or not. What's your take on that scene? Because I mean, I'm still like, it feels like it was probably intentional based on what he sees or what we see him do to Victor. But I also wonder if, like, during that whole moment where Sophia is like basically accusing him of killing his brothers, I mean, there is also that situation where people sort of embrace that, like, okay, well, if everybody thinks I'm this awful person who's done these heinous things, then I'm just gonna be that guy. And so I'm curious what your take on that is.
Right. I think that so he doesn't actively kill them, but he does know that that he's doing nothing to help save them.
Mm-hmm.
He locks them down there, and he knows that that's going to be disastrous for them. And when asked about it, he lies about it. And when the morning after comes, when they're looking and searching, he says nothing. When the moment comes where they find the boys down there, he pretends that he's also mourning. Oh, mom, I miss them too, mom. Oh man, I'm gonna do. Don't worry, I'm gonna make up for it. Having done it himself, I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and I think he was obsessive about his mother. He wanted him all for her. He wanted her all for himself, and it's the lying about it that kind of really seals it home. That it's like, okay, this was not an accident. This was something that you were totally okay with, and to this day, you lie about it. He's so narcissistic. Even at her sake, not really where the scene drives home when Sophia looks at him like, "You were gonna let me do it." Like you're so worried about you that even when it's the people that you love, that you claim to love the most, you still won't save them when you have the chance to. So I think that's telling.
Yeah. Now, a few weeks back, there was a lot of chatter about Penguin's prosthetic appendage. Did you witness that on set? Because Colin brought it up, but no one said if Oz is packing or not.
I I'll keep that for the lucky ladies in his life to know. But I've gotten some or the unlucky ladies. I've gotten I wasn't there that day, but I've seen pictures. I've seen evidence. I heard about it, and they were excited to show me, and I was maybe too excited to see it myself. So I know its existence. I can confirm its existence.
That's amazing. I wonder what a guy like Oz names his pee-pee. I don't know. I wonder. I hope it's like Mr. Popper. Just kidding. No, there were a lot of fan theories online about who Victor would end up being. Some people even speculated that it might be Victor Zaz. Did you see any of those theories online, and what were your thoughts, knowing that you knew the full arc?
Yeah, I definitely saw the theories online. I would get sent stuff a lot from my friends and things, but yeah, I couldn't. I can't even. How do you even respond to them when you know what's going to happen in the end? It's like, all right, let them keep drumming this up. Let them keep having their fun. My friends didn't even know. My friends found out last night. My mom didn't know. My parents didn't know, and nobody knew. I kept it a secret for years, and I'm just happy it's finally out. But no, it's been cool seeing people kind of speculate. I think that. But no, from the beginning, we've kind of mentioned that the character's wholly original, and that he lives in this world. And he was kind of created for this show. And I think there's this sort of beginning, middle, and end that's quite tragic for Victor, but I think kind of final.
Now, did you see any theories that you thought, if we weren't doing what we're doing, this would have been pretty cool? Was there any particular theory that you're like, oh, that would have been fun to do?
You mean like the ones that I saw online?
Yes.
Yeah, if I would have gotten to play an arc where I start off how I started, and then I get to turn into someone like Victor Zaz, that would have been so much, like an actor, so much fun to get there. Now, we would have changed things up dramatic. I don't think the ramp up from who he is to getting to be someone like Victor Zaz, I think is pretty. You would need 7 seasons. You would need a Breaking Bad level of show to get there at the
Yeah.
rate we're going. But but it would have been cool to get to play that arc from super good and innocent into someone who, like, how do you get there? How does someone start marking bodies on their, marking their bodies on their body? And it's like, would have been cool, but that one would have been awesome. I also would have loved the idea of just getting the Batman and Robin kind of the thing. Like, even if he had, like, if somehow I saw this theory, like, if somehow he survives, does he, like, now hate Oz and goes and joins, like, Batman's crew or whatever? It's like, that kind of thing. And those things would be fun, just the
Yeah.
idea of it. But it's not like I'm holding my breath.
I thought there were a lot of nods to Victor being sort of Robin-esque, especially like with Sophia and the crowbar. I thought you were cooked then. I was like, oh no. I was happy to see you made it out of there.
Yeah, I saw those theories online too. Like, oh my God, it's the exact way, because we have a whole
Yeah,
week
yeah, yeah.
episode. Yeah, so I saw
Now,
that.
obviously, the biggest nod to Batman comes at the very end of the series with the bat signal in the sky. Were there ever any plans during production for a cameo appearance by Bruce Wayne or Commissioner Gordon, or was what audiences got exactly the way it was written on page?
It's exactly the way it was written. From what I know, I never heard about any Batman stuff. Anytime that it was brought up, it was very much like, honestly, it was never even really brought up. Um, So no, I never thought that Batman was going to make a cameo. We never talked about Batman making a cameo. There was no rumblings or rumors about it. The most rumors I would hear about it were people online kind of being like, "Batman's in it, Batman's in it, Batman's making a cameo," and I'm like, it'd be news to me. I have no idea. So no, it was always meant to be kind of a show about Oz, about the Penguin. It only takes place over the course of a few weeks, and so I think that. Everything happened so quick. It feels long because it's been 2 months since the show started coming out, but in the like timeline wise, it's really just not that long that that happens.
Now, I only asked this because, well, you brought it up with the Robin theory, but also this is a comic book series and people in comic books don't stay dead. So I'm just covering my bases here. But is there any chance that we'll see you return as Victor, or do you think that this is truly the end of the road for him?
I really have no idea. I think it feels like the end to me,
Mhm.
but these writers are crazier things have happened. So given the opportunity, I would love to. I love the character. I love the amount of time I got to spend with him, and to create that. And I love working with Colin. I don't think Victor would go back to Oz, but I think if there's something strong, if something interesting, if it's something creative, always open to the idea of that. But it feels kind of like that's what it was meant to be. It feels like a great beginning, middle, and end to the character, and I'm excited about just continuing to get to do this thing that I love, to get to create really cool stories, and to get to continue to do that is really the dream, really the
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah, I think Victor's ultimately, I think he served his purpose in a very beautiful, poignant way. When you look back on the show, being in these incredible scenes with Colin Farrell and Kristen Milioti, first off, people are going to be asking you Penguin questions for years. I hope you're prepared for that. What do you think is going to be your favorite story to recall when people ask you about your time on set with the Penguin?
Oh man, that's my favorite story. Um, Years down the line. I mean, man, there's a few. I really got along with the cast great. I mean, me and Dee Dee got along. Me and Colin got along. Me and Kristen got along also well. And I didn't get to share that many scenes with Kristen, sadly. But we were on set a lot of the times. Like, I would stay back after I was done shooting. I would stay back and watch some of her scenes. If I ever got in early, I'd come and hang out. So it's like it was real cool getting to hang out with everybody. I loved getting in. I don't know. You just grow this family. You grow like this kinship for each other, and you're making this thing, and nobody knows when we're making it if it's going to be any good. We're all shooting for the stars, but you never know what's going to happen. And so, just the sort of love and the embrace of the show's been able to kind of garner, and the sort of attention it's been able to get. Like, people are really watching it, people are really liking it, and that feels really great. And getting to share that with the cast. I remember just sitting down even before the night before the show came out, or the night before the review embargo lifted, actually. And we were all kind of nervous. Me, the director, the creator, Kristen. We were all sat downstairs in the lobby, just having like a glass of wine, like talking about it, about because that kind of thing can make or break a show. And all of us were pretty nervous, but just kind of this communal kind of love of what we're doing and passion for the thing. I think that's the kind of stuff that will stick with me the most. Was just everyone on this thing was so incredible at what they do, and they tried so hard, and we all gave it our best. And to come out on the other side and people really enjoying it, that's it's awesome.
Um, Mentioning that when you're on set, you don't know whether or not you're making a good or bad thing and you're hoping for the best. Was there any particular scene where you were like, "Oh, this is actually going to be great. Like this is going to be awesome."
Oh man, it was more in reading it that I had that feeling. When I read the scripts for 7 and 8, when I read the scripts for all of them, I was always in awe. But when I got to 7 and 8, I was shocked when I learned. I knew what the backstory was. When I learned how they had written the backstory, the dialogue of it, the way it presents itself to the audience, that's when I was like, oh my god! Like I loved our show in the first six. It brings it to another level in 7 and 8. I was like, I don't know that many shows that get this much stronger as the show goes on, and the ones that I do know are some of the ones that we revere as an audience, as a society. We go, those are some of the best shows ever. So I was just so impressed at that point, and I knew that if we could just bring what was on the page to the screen, if we just didn't f it up, if we did the bare minimum, it would find its way. We would find an audience who would love it. And then when I watched the show, I feel like the cast, the post production on it, everybody kind of outdid themselves. And so it's just an honor to be a part of it.
No, I mean, as we've learned from Game of Thrones, right? I mean, it's like you can love a thing all the way up to the end, but if you don't stick that landing, people remember the end. That's so
Yeah.
you have to nail that, and you guys did, and I mean, it's super exciting that I'm sure that you're a part of it, and I wanted to ask, since the Penguin and the Batman are a separate universe from James Gunn's DCU, is there another DC character you jump at the chance to play?
Oh man. Uh, Definitely. I mean, trying to think off the top of my head what would fit, what would make sense. Um, I mean, it's not even. I couldn't. Oh man, there's so many. I don't want to close myself off now because now what if I say one and then I audition for another one? It's like we already wanted this. I'm gonna leave it wide open. There's so many cool ones out there. Whatever ends up making the most sense. I'm honestly really curious to see this Superman movie, just to see what kind of tone they're setting up for the new universe. I think it's gonna say a lot about what they're kind of trying to create. And I love James Gunn and what he's been able to make. One of my favorites, I went and saw it a few times in theaters, was Suicide Squad, the one he came out with. Just so cool, man. Just such a great way to do the movie. And so I'm excited to see what they're making over there. I got a couple friends in the movie, so it's they've been saying good things about it. I'm
Have you
excited.
seen Creature Commandos yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, it's like the first animated thing that's coming out for the DCU, and I've watched the first 5 episodes so far, and it's if you like the Suicide Squad, it's like a spiritual sequel to the Suicide Squad. It's
Oh,
awesome.
incredible. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. All
Yeah,
right,
it's a
good.
lot of fun. Last question for you. Not that I expect you to spoil anything. I don't, but have you heard any of the plans in place for the Batman 2? Like, were you privy to any of those kinds of conversations on the set of the Penguin?
Just in the way that it related to the Penguin. So we knew that what we were doing was leading into Batman 2. We knew that we knew that he wanted to set Batman 2 in the snow, and so we started gearing our way towards that in Penguin. So that by the time they start that, it's kind of full on. Um, Things like that, just like tonally, what was going, or like setting wise, what was going to be leading in. We knew that we were leading into Batman 2, and he was just getting started on writing it at the time, Matt, and so he had the idea of wanting to see Gotham, a snowy Gotham that we haven't really gotten to see that way before, and so I think. I think it'll look exciting. I think it'll look cool. We kind of started it, and I'm sure they're gonna him and if Greg Fraser can come back, they'll knock it out the park. I can't wait to watch it.
Well, dude, this has been such a pleasure getting to meet you and talk with you and everything. And like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed your performance. I mean, you're fantastic across the board in this. And can you
Thank
tease what's next for you and let people know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, no, just my name. Rhenzy Feliz is on Instagram, and there's a couple things in the works right now that we're close on. Nothing, just concrete yet. So don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. But there's some cool things in the works where we're gonna see what ends up happening. But it's still it's still the hustle phase of my life. We're still auditioning, we're still having meetings, we're still doing the whole thing, and so it's about finding the next right project. Make sure that the next one is a good one. Something that kind of I just want the quality to be high. You know, it's not about how many projects can I get under my belt. It's more about, is it the right project? And so that's really the most important thing, is making sure that the next thing I'm on is something that I'm really passionate about, the way that I was passionate about this, and hoping that in a way, you know, it can follow that kind of thing up.
Well, dude, whatever you do, I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for your time, man. I really
Appreciate
appreciate
it,
it.
man. Thank you.
Thank you, dude.